Hello, my name is Ben Dugan, and I'm designing an app called Manufact. It is a vocabulary app for UX Fundamentals 1.7. This is through Career Foundry. All right, let's meet our persona. Her name is Ashley Bryant. She lives in Florida. She's a singer-songwriter. She has a BA in music, and she has a few things she needs. So the things she needs are commonly used words from various industries. So let's say she works for an electric company. Then they put out a commercial. They need lyrics for a song that they make, and so she has to learn a little bit about the lyrics from that business, or like I guess the kind of language from that business that they would use. Say she's working for a plumbing company, or a local coffee shop, grocery store, or say a university, a museum, maybe even like a manufacturing company. She's not going to know all of the lingo that these companies use, and so she needs a way to learn that. She's going to, of course, organize those into lyrics where certain words rhyme and make sense together. And, of course, organizing those lyrics is going to help her design the song that the company is eventually going to buy and pay her to write. So her overall goal is to write music to bring people together, and hopefully with the right words and tunes she can accomplish this goal. So the issue is this. She writes music for so many companies that she needs to learn the common lingo for those industries. She needs a basic catch-all list for these industries, and say if there's some word she has no idea how to even start understanding that word, she needs to be able to search through it and find that word and at least get a definition and a pronunciation. If she doesn't know how to pronounce it, she doesn't know how to make it rhyme with the song, and therefore she's kind of stuck. So just like I was talking before, even tech companies, banking, marketing, and the construction industry, it could be, she works with quite a few companies throughout this process of her job. She has a few challenges. So she kind of has to be forced to learn new words. The lyrics she uses are she tries to use lyrics that are based from that industry. A lot of them are way over her head. They're way too technical. Some who knows, maybe some chemicals that she doesn't know how to pronounce are being used, and so she needs to know how to pronounce those words and so on. So she would say, my job is to write music and lyrics about an area of study that I've never even heard of. So that's one of the biggest things she's having trouble with here. Alright, so the wireframing prototyping process, we first start out with that left picture. It's very basic, but the navigation is on the top where it says home, categories, and favorites. There's the word inside those boxes, and then of course the definition there. I moved to the navigation at the bottom. I kind of thought that was a little bit better to have a flat navigation. And I changed from words to symbols. After a few times using the app, you're going to understand what those symbols mean. And so I didn't want to overload the user with all the extra text on the screen. I thought symbols would eventually be a lot more user-friendly. And then, of course, I found an iPhone template and finally added some detail into it, some words, actual definitions. And so at this point, I felt like the prototype was alive and working, and I felt a lot better about it by putting on a template like that. Alright, so I put it to test. I had 4 different tests that I ran through, and I put up some pictures here on the right side, and I numbered them as well. So number 1, that is that first picture on the top left. It's finding a vocab word in a specific category. So my users, I had search through and find like a space exploration category. They're using that to find just terms, and obviously this is the list through A, and if you scroll you'll find more and so on. Our second task was about writing a note in a category. So I created a note, same type of category as before, kind of space exploration or astronomy, and so I put a note in there about Bennu. It's an asteroid, and so I allowed the user to either add it to a new category or to a favorited category. And then, of course, once they click one of those buttons, they can choose which category they would like to place that in. Our third task was to create a profile. and then view the account settings. So I had a basic way to type in your username and your password and hit sign up, and then it takes you immediately over to your account settings. And later on I changed those account settings to look a little better, so you'll see the changes later on. Number 4, fourth task is search for a word and see its definition. So I allowed whenever you hit the search button, it's going to take you up and it's going to show recent searches, and it's also going to allow you to have a keyboard and type whatever you need to and hit the search button. That's the basic idea of how to search for a new word. Alright, so here's my early prototypes. We had the home screen, which is kind of the word of the day screen. I later changed it to today's word. That's the first thing you're going to see when you pop it up. We have a favorite screen. You can see it down at the bottom of that screen. The star is kind of circled at the bottom there. And so I made it to where everything else is grayed out at the bottom, and the one you're looking at is going to be the white or kind of almost highlighted because of that. So our category screen is our third picture here. It's going to have all the categories in there through an A through Z list. On the right, you're going to be able to scroll down, and it's going to zoom through. Once the app is completely done, it's going to have a lot more in the A's and B's and C's. I just wanted to show that it was through an alphabetical list on that one. Also on that category screen, there's a little plus sign at the top right, and that is where you can add notes through categories. And the last picture is about a scrolling list inside of a category. If you just click on a category that you need to, you just scroll down and find whatever you can, whatever you need to. Okay. Improvements. I decided that the category screen was a little too overwhelming to have all of them as a flat text, just text, scrolling text like that. So I decided to change it to box categories, so it's a little easier to see them all and not get confused and so on. I also added the name at the top of that. This was kind of after I decided what it's going to be called. I put the name up in the middle. There's account settings. I updated that and made it look a little less confusing. I didn't want to switch the ways to turn on and off settings, so I decided to put just checkboxes for those top two, and then of course accessibility, you're going to be brought to a new list of things, and contact and rate app are going to be taken to a new screen. I also changed the wording of the buttons that was on the note screen. So one of my users said, or one of my testers said that the wording on that last note was a little confusing, and she didn't even look at the heading at the top of the screen. She just looked at the buttons. So she said, put the word note in the buttons, because that's the whole idea of what that screen's about. Of course, the keyboard's down at the bottom. So Ashley would say something like, it's much easier to understand what's actually happening now with these simple fixes. Okay, the prototype is still upcoming improvements. I've decided to add more categories. The more customization options available will come later. I wanted to say this because early on in the process of putting a lot of customization makes it tougher on developers and people down the line. But if you make the app work successfully the first time, and you can do the easy things really, really well, it makes customization a lot easier later on. So I want to release the product and make it work with all the parts that I'm trying to do with it, and then allow customization with some updates. So that's where I was going with the plus sign there. Right in the middle with the quote, it says, future testing to be done with many more participants. Of course, we got to be testing constantly with new people. Those friction points, we're going to work on those, and any broken buttons, we'll fix that as well. Things I learned, yes, there's a lot of pros. I learned a lot through this process. This is the first time I've made an app like this. This is the first idea of doing this entire project, and I learned a lot. There was a lot of mistakes I made, a lot of erasing I had to do, but the biggest thing I learned was to make the product work, and that people have a lot of opinions about what they believe and what they feel. I learned that their confusion helped me define my tasks for them to do a lot more clear. They're once they got confused, I kind of dove into that confusion and tried to fix that. It ended up making the product better. Honest reactions is huge. I told them that I'm not testing them, I'm testing the product. And the more honest they are, the better the product is going to be. And that really shows that they can really help me out. It's a big help for me. So, lorem ipsum, yeah. One of my users said that I didn't use it, but I've just learned through reading articles that that's might as well put a little bit more extra work into it and put some actual words of your own in there. And it's really awesome when you get genuine appreciation for the product. That's the coolest thing, when the user says, "This is cool, I like this." Cons, it says the user sometimes skips the onboarding step. I've done this. I've skipped onboarding, and then I go back and I'm confused on what I need to do, and I realize I should probably have went through the onboarding step. Scheduling a meeting, that was the tough part. Talked to a few people, and they said, I'm busy until this time, and so I had to figure out a way to get me and them just some mutual time. So I could video chat and record what I needed to record for them from them. Last part is I really just kind of want to jump into that medium fidelity wireframing right off the bat, and I realized I can't put that much detail into it right away because I don't even know what the product is going to look like. And so some of the kinks got worked out in the low fidelity. I had to just go back to that. And then at one point I just said, I'm just going to put as much detail as I can into it. And from there, it just started looking really, really good. Alrighty, thank you. My name is Ben Dugan, and that's all I got.